thinking outside the box and not trying to negotiate a non-aggression pact with Beijing. I don't know how receptive they would be to it, but it would save us billions, hundreds of billions of dollars if we could pull it off. Some of these things are just not always about repeating what we've done the same old way for the last 50, 60, and 80 years, but to actually change our thinking and say, okay, the US has different interests at stake here. They're not the same as ours when it comes to China. So what the US wants to achieve with China is to dominate China. Well, that may not be in our interests, and we certainly are in no position to dominate China. So perhaps we should forge our own approach, which doesn't just replicate like a carbon copy of what Washington wants. Think about what our interests are, where we can save money on fruitless expenditure, on Baroque technologies, where we can avoid unnecessary strategic provocations in the South China Sea, where we can establish an ongoing, permanent, close dialogue with the Chinese leadership, because it'll be going through a transitional period at some point in the next 2 decades. So, instead of just being seen as a sort of lackey of the US, where we have no initiative of our own, no individual approach which differs, maybe we just sort of start thinking, well, we'll carve our own niche here. We'll work with the Chinese. We'll keep others informed, but the idea that China should be contained is not going to be something that is necessarily going to be in our interests, and will be swept up in some of the conflicts that occur if, in fact, these are seen by the Chinese as provocations. I can't see how that's in the interests of Australia in any way, shape, or form.
I think a lot of people would agree with you, Scott, and a lot of people scratching their heads at the moment too. It seems like we've had this cake and eat it too approach with China and Washington for a long time. Primarily, trading as much as we can with one and hiding behind the security umbrella of the other. And now it seems like, with just this kind of loose dialogue coming out of Shangri-La, some of the ramping up in rhetoric, we're seeing the press starting to pick up whatever packages of information they start picking up of Washington, and saber rattling and drumming. The Red Alert series is probably going to do a second